Okay. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Convergence Healing Podcast. Guys, I love doing this podcast. It's fun for me now because, I used to have production deals and I used to have to, splice things in and edit things and do it all super professional. And I'm like, not anymore. I have freedom just to hit the record button and here we go because it's so much more fun. And before it just became too much work. So I wanted to bring that up because so many of us are just working too hard. And I wasn't even going to do my podcast anymore because it just wasn't fun anymore. But now that I'm doing it guerrilla style, it's totally fun. And I get to talk to super cool people that just keep coming into my life because it is fun. They refer people to me and we do all kinds of stuff. So today we have the amazing, oh my God, this woman just shines. Her name is Valerie Sheppard, but I also need to read our joint venture people. So I have my super cool glasses on. All right. So the Convergence Healing Podcast is brought to you in joint partnership with Earthwalk as part of their global wholeness clock. Earthwalk's mission is to create a global culture of peace, and we are tending to the moment of joy. I love that. We are part of their joy. To find out more about the Wholeness Clock and its other shows and programs, please visit their website, which is www.earthwalkunited.org/wholeness clock. So that's again, earthwalkunited.org/wholeness clock. And now we're going to move on to the enigmatic, vibrant, super, super fun, amazing Valerie Sheppard. The crowd roars. Did you hear that? The crowd roars.
I've got a little.
There you go. I love that.
That's my standing ovation.
I haven't seen one of those since I was a kid. That's awesome. So, Valerie, I brought you on to our podcast because you have such an inspirational story. And when I first met you, it was on a Zoom group, right? And there was something like 80 people or something, 100 people or something like that on the group. And I kept coming back to you. Like I just kept seeing your picture in that little tiny thumbnail box, right? And I was just like, she's cool. I like her. And then we just like connected and shared and talked and we met separately. And I'm just so grateful to have you in my circle now. Thank you for being part of that. And thank you for being a new friend. But you have a very inspirational story. And I love inspirational stories. Would you share with our viewers your story and where you came from?
Sure. First of all, thank you so much, Peter. I'm really grateful to be here. I think we're kindred spirits, and we had a great time we've had a great time so far getting to know each other, and I'm just delighted that I could be a part of this your beautiful podcast. So thank you for having me. And guerrilla style is, I agree with you, way more fun.
Way much more fun. Oh my God. I used to stress out all the other times, but hey, this is great.
Yeah. Like our inner children don't want to deal with all that adult stuff about how things splice together and getting all the words right. And I've been on a journey to quiet down that part of me that is highly analytical and very process oriented, and not to get rid of her because she's very powerful and supportive and helpful, and also to give more love and spaciousness and breath.
Yeah. For me, pardon me?
A little breath for expression to my more playful and fun and less mature self.
Yeah. Well, I look at it differently. I get to be childlike now. When I was a kid, I was so mature and so responsible and I did everything right. I was the good boy and I did all that kind of stuff. You know what? I didn't have any fun. And now I'm still mature and responsible and I take care of things and I do all that type of stuff. But I wanted to go through life having fun. So the idea of childlike, not childish, big difference, but the idea of being childlike. And, the old podcast required me to do skills that just weren't in my wheelhouse. Right. So I either had to be miserable and figure out how to edit and do all this type of stuff, or I had to hire somebody to do it. And now I'm like, screw that. That's one of the gifts of COVID for me. One of these gifts that, hey, you know what? I could just talk to people. I don't have to make it a big production. I don't have to do that kind of stuff. I could just share my own story and beautiful people that I meet and share their stories.
Yes.
So thank you for bringing up that idea of being playful. I think it's just so much. It's where I need to go in my life for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's part of we'll get there, but that's I have the word dance in the title of my book, and there's a reason for that, but we'll
Mhm.
get to that. So you asked me about my story. Well, um, it's so multifaceted, like everyone's. The biggest part I think of my story is that there have been 2 points in my life where there are some catastrophic sort of health issues, the kind that make you stop or made me stop and go, okay, what?
I,
Like,
I
uh,
died. I was slammed in the back of a semi truck, so I understand that. Absolutely.
so like, where did this come from and why?
Mhm.
I don't remember having a conscious thought of why me.
Right.
That never showed up, but there was definitely a, huh,
Mhm.
okay, this isn't like, why would this be happening? I don't really understand it. And it was at one point in my life, and these were not that far apart, but one point in my life, it was that I was having symptoms and thought I was having a heart attack. And I was rushed to the hospital. This was in my 40s, and I was rushed to the hospital, and it wasn't a heart attack. And it was diagnosed later by cardiologists as a benign superarrhythmia, which basically means my heart was doing things that could, if left alone, be deadly, but there was no physiological reason for my heart to be doing those things. Like, so then that started a really profound journey of like understanding, as spiritual as I thought I was, understanding that there could be a physiological manifestation for something that is emotional in nature or spiritual in nature, that it can be unconscious, it can be subconscious, and it doesn't necessarily track to, oh, there's the reason your heart's doing this, it's because it's enlarged or it's because of this. And I didn't even know that was possible. So that started me down a really beautiful path in my life that has gotten me to where I am now. And then the second instance was um, in the middle of leading an all-day leadership workshop, speaking and moving through a conference room with like 40 people who I was facilitating. A blood vessel in my brain burst, and I had a catastrophic hemorrhagic stroke. And when it was happening, this is what we were just talking about a second ago. The kind of analytical, mature self was totally on because I was facilitating, right? So she's going, huh, but she's still talking as the mature facilitator. And I heard somebody from over here, and I was focused toward the back of the room because we were debriefing one of the breakout tables. And I was focused here, and I heard someone over here say, "Are you all right?" At least that's how I remember it. "Are you all right?" And I didn't even skip a beat, didn't look at them, nothing. I was like, yeah, I'm fine. But I hadn't noticed that I was trying to back up and my right foot wouldn't move. But other people noticed. I didn't notice that. And I think I thought the way I tell the story is that I thought my foot had gotten, when you're in a conference room and there are those rubber protector things that they put over cords. I
Right.
thought that I was maybe stuck in one of those, or I thought I was being impeded by something physical in the room. I was being impeded, all right, but it wasn't in that room. It was in my head. And I don't know that anyone else could tell I was having a stroke. We cleared the room. I said, we called 911. And then I was projectile vomiting. And then I woke up like 3 days later.
Wow.
Um, and that was in June of 2015. And that started a journey that I'm still on today, which is uh, how do I be me anew in my life as the person who experienced a hemorrhagic stroke. And, at first it was the person who woke up and couldn't move half of her body and couldn't walk and almost wasn't sure she could talk. And it's evolved. And so now I'm the person who had the stroke, but it was doing a lot of other things and, not not anywhere near the way I was when I first woke up, but that was the story. And I know for a fact that the things that I teach that started with this journey that started after this heart issue, um, I employed the same practices that I teach, and I know that they are making my journey as this person still recovering from the effects of a hemorrhage
Right.
much more fun and well adjusted. And I mean, there obviously are days when it's like, really, can this be over now?
Oh boy, do I understand
Yeah,
that.
when is this
Yeah.
gonna be over?
And how beautiful that you have the tools and you can implement those tools, right? I mean, that's that right there, that the universe gave that in a way it knew you could handle
I know.
it. That's
Yeah,
big.
it is big. And it, at the very first moment that I remember waking up,
Mhm.
um, the first time, because I woke up, my mom and my brother said, well, you came out of it for a minute and then you sort of looked and then you just were gone again for another day and a half. And
Yeah,
what
not
I
ready yet.
remember, yeah, what I remember happened
Mhm.
was I woke up and I tried to speak. And um, I thought I was making perfectly clean sentences, but I could tell by their faces that's not really what was happening. And what's funny is that I was an improv comedian. And so in improv, you don't always talk in, left brain logic. You sometimes talk in gibberish.
Yep.
And so it can sound completely nonsensical, but that's improv, that's comedy. But apparently I was speaking gibberish and didn't realize I was speaking gibberish. But I could tell by my parents' faces that, like, I mean, my mother and my brother's faces, like, something's not right here.
Right.
And I remember very clearly thinking, huh, I'm a speaker, teacher, healer who can't speak.
Mhm.
Like, how does that work? And then I remember a little chuckle inside. And I said, well, if Stephen Hawking can do it, I'll figure it out.
Wow.
And
What
then I
a
just went back out. And then when I woke up the next time, which was a day and a half or so later, all of my speech had dropped right in.
That's amazing. Wow, you just needed time, I guess. I
And
had a
I agree
speaker,
with, oh, sorry.
pardon?
I was going to say yes. And I also believe that our life gives us an opportunity to choose whether it's going to be hard or whether we want it to be something else. And
Mm.
so in that moment of choice, right, where I didn't panic and just believe, oh my God, I can't talk, I was like, oh, guess I'll figure it out. And
Mhm.
sure enough, I didn't have to figure it out. It's almost like your life gives you an opportunity to double down on something. And you
Mhm.
can double down on the bad and the harmful and the scary and the fearful, or you can double down on, I'm okay,
Yeah,
and see what happens.
yeah. When I had my death experience, I died, came back into my body when the ambulance showed up and the EMTs. I told them exactly where to take me, and I jumped back out of my body. And the fun part is, I must have scared the crap out of the guy that was on top of me because I was dead, right? So his face is like right here. He's trying to see if he can feel any breath, see a pulse, do anything like that, right? And I opened my eyes, and he bounced up like a cat. He went, like, just he was a big guy. He was this big man on top of me. And I opened my eyes because I was dead, right? And he just bounced up. But that experience of I'm not ready yet. Like I came into my body, said what I needed to say, and I jumped back out. Now I woke up again a few hours later, but it wasn't a whole day and a half. But I wasn't ready. I didn't want to be in that body. It took me time, just those few hours, but it took me time to be able to say, okay, I'm willing to do this. And I totally understand what you're saying about this because um, I chose not to go through the impact. As my bike was being pushed into the semi truck that I slammed into, I jumped out of my body and I watched my body go through that. And part of my experience was I didn't need to go through that pain. That wasn't required.
Yeah,
That wasn't part of the lesson
the
as
deal.
I
Yeah,
as I look at it, right? I already
that's really
understood.
cool.
It is
That's
really
really
cool.
cool.
But you're kind of describing a similar thing, that your ability to speak really wasn't part of the lesson that this is teaching us, right?
Yes.
That
Yes.
wasn't needed
That
as I
wasn't
look at these things. You know,
yes,
part
it
of
was
my filter, and people think I'm a little crazy for it, but I think you'll identify with it, is that all pain is teaching us something. It's calling us into our greatness. And that's what I see with you. It's like you're doing what I term, and which is a relatively new term in the industry, of you're doing post-traumatic growth, right? There's PTSD, and there's that PTSD that just overwhelms people and knocks them down, and they get stuck in the experiences. And then for some reason, there's some people that do the opposite. They have these traumas, and because of the trauma, they become even greater, more powerful. Your voice is so much stronger because, as a teacher, because of this experience. At least that's, as I mean, I don't know you that well. We're just getting to know each other, and it's only been what, a month or something or less. But
less.
but I'm just like, that story made your voice for me even more powerful. Like, I'm like, wow, you know, she overcame so much, and she's in the process still, right? You're on the other side of the tipping point, it looks like, but there's so much value, or even increased value, because you have gone through and because you have processed,
Yeah.
right?
Yes. And especially for those who are, who are interested in hearing at the deepest levels. What my students tell me, because I don't, it's funny that at that event we were at together, someone there brought up this idea of the story, and whether I need to be telling it again.
Oh, I
And
remember that.
remember
Yeah.
that? Yeah. And I didn't I just allowed myself to hear it. I didn't really I didn't take it personally. I didn't put any value on it at all, but I percolated with that thought. And
Mhm.
what I hear more often than that, like 99 to 1, is there's something in my story that resonates with people, and especially with the people that I serve a lot. So I serve a lot of young adults, and young adults can be stuck in the place of low self-esteem and fear, um, unregulated stress, unmanaged anxiety, depression. And it all has to do with sort of, or I won't say all, and I'm not a clinical psychologist, so I'm not talking about it from that perspective. I'm talking about it from a consciousness and human potential perspective. Um, the way that they can be is like not like really in self-doubt, and really in the smallest sense of I, and not in the I amness that they are. And so what they hear in my story is their own I amness. Like, they start to go, could I have done that? Like, could I wake up and not be able to walk? Could I, like they start to encounter their own sense of self. And then they decide, what do they want that sense of self to be? And where do they want that sense of self to take them? And then if they're really, really into it, they go on a journey to make that sense of self a certain way that they do with teaching or classes or working with me or working with others. But it wakes them up. It's like, which is funny, because in my Shepherd method, the living happy to be me 4-step process for transformation, the step 1 is wake up to the truth of who you are. So it almost something. So it's funny because I woke up, whoa, hello, oh, I can't talk, see you later, oh, I'm back again, like, and you woke up, oh, and I'm out again. So
Yeah.
the wake up is very powerful when uh, the person waking up notices what's happening and makes a conscious choice of what they really want and goes after that.
Yeah, that clarity is just remarkable to have that. And I love that you teach from your experience. So when I heard that comment in the group too, I kind of went, "Hmm?" right? I was like, huh, okay. Because, I teach from my own experience. And as a therapist, I'm a little odd for a therapist because I share my own personal life, right? That's a big no-no in psychology, right? There's always this aloofness, this sort of lab coat type of thing, right? Where I'm the expert, I'm wearing the lab coat. There's not this intimacy and sharing of information, right? And I think that's bullshit. I call that out and I'm saying, that setting me is separate from. And one of the biggest parts of that I love about the processes that I use is that I'm an example, I'm not an exception, right? I'm the example of someone who's been able to heal all kinds of things. And I put myself out there as the example, not because I think I'm so great or I'm so unique or I'm so perfect, because I'm absolutely not that, right? But I put myself out there because if I can do it, so can you. And, these are the ways that I learned how to do it. You have your process that came to me. I like to think that my process was kind of a download over almost a decade of time and learning how to heal myself, learning how to walk again, learning how to struggle with chronic pain, learning how to deal with my brain damage, all that type of stuff, learning how to deal with anxiety and depression and all of those types of things, right? This process that came to me is what I love to share. And I hold people's hands. I walk with them through these processes. I'm not like I guess I'm just not like your standard therapist. That is, I'm going to tell you how to do things. I'm going to show you how to do it as an example in my life. I'm going to share how I did it in my life. And I'm going to hold your hand and be there for you as you do it. Right? Which is a completely different way of working with people. I like to think that the work that you and I do is kind of like the old town minister, right? Where, in these small towns, right? You had the minister of the whatever church organization, spiritual group, or whatever it was there. But when you look at these historical figures, the town knew that the minister wife maybe was drinking a little too much, or the kids were doing something they necessarily wouldn't do, or maybe the minister was doing some stuff that wasn't okay either. But they still respected that position that they held, and they went to him for advice and for support, right? I kind of see myself in that way, where I'm certainly not perfect, and I don't hold myself out there to be perfect, right? But I think that's why the work I do is, and the work that we do is that because we are so approachable. We do share our fallacies, where we don't hide our authentic self. And that's one of the things that really attracted me to you, right? If I'm a human being. I was having this conversation recently with a friend, and we were talking about anger. And so many of us healer types, therapists, whatever, right? We're supposed to be elevated and above, but that's that white lab coat type of thing, right? That's that I'm separate from type of thing. And we're having a human experience, and we hurt, we go through difficulties just like what you're doing. The difference is that we use those difficulties as ways for us to learn and grow and expand. And then what we learn, we empower others to do, right? I get angry and I'm flat out, and I'm okay with my anger. I used to be not okay. I used to feel like people would say, you're a healer. You're not supposed to get angry. You're supposed to be above that. And my comment to them is like, really? Are you trying to say I'm not human? Why? And anger is part of the human emotions. Absolutely. I'm going to embrace my anger. Now, because of my learning and my background and my experiences, I'm not going to let that anger own me. I'm not going to pass it on, because anger is a thing that we could really pass on, right? But I'm going to allow myself to be angry, to have those emotions and to be present with that. I'm not going to do a spiritual bypass and shove that shit down. But I think one of the things that we get to do, and what was so lovely about you, attracted me to you, was your authenticity. So that person saying that story just doesn't work anymore. No, it's actually where you've come from, and it's why you are so powerful. So it's kind of one of the reasons I think I wanted to have you on, because I was like, I don't get that. Like, I don't want to be identified by my past anymore, right? I don't want to be ingrained to it, or I don't want to be the guy that died. but I do want to be the guy that died and overcame all of those things.
Yeah,
Right?
and I agree with so much of what you said. I mean, I too have had, before I went down the path of being a transformational teacher, spiritual avatar teacher, before I went down that path, I did see, I saw a psychospiritual counselor and I saw a psychologist. And I had a similar experience where I felt like I was talking to a wall.
Mm.
Like I did all the talking. And if I asked questions, I usually didn't get an answer. It was just another question given back to me. And I often felt like I came out wanting. I remember walking to my car so many times going, what am I doing this for? Like, I never felt, people say I feel so much better after I come out of my therapist's office because I leave it all in there. I'm like, I don't leave anything in there. We just keep going over and over and over and over the same story.
Right.
And I'm sick of the story. I didn't come here to hear myself tell my story. I came here to figure out why my story is my story and choose a better story.
Yes.
Like, let's
Yes.
choose a better one.
Yeah.
And so those modalities, and those modalities are phenomenal. I know I have friends who are psychiatrists, psychologists. So I bless them and I'm grateful every day for what they contribute to those who do get benefit from what they offer. It just didn't work for me. And
Mm.
so I didn't go. So I work now. I have a spiritual counselor and I talk spirituality with somebody who is in the same vibration and the same sort of, you know, mindset, heart set, same worldview, I'll say, uh, where I know I'm open to receiving the wisdom.
Mhm.
And boy, do I get a lot of it. And
I love that go ahead.
I was going to say, and I do believe that there is not right. I don't want to say right or wrong. I'm going to say what serves me the best has always presented itself based on what I was open to and what I was aware of. So I believe that in any given moment, we're each being guided miraculously, lovingly. We're being guided to that which would serve us to evolve our consciousness at the highest and best way at that moment in time. And and that to me is like incredibly liberating, and it's also incredibly it's kind of cozy and warm. Like, oh yeah, I'm taken care of. I
Yeah.
know somebody's got my back, and I get it. I'm okay if I don't get it now. I'll get it later. There's no way I can miss what's really for me. I used to go through my whole life being afraid I was going to miss something.
Right.
And
That's FOMO, what they call it, fear of missing out. That's such a big thing now.
yeah,
Tell
well,
me
it was a
more.
big thing when I was younger. And
Mm.
what it did for me is that it ran me ragged.
Mm.
I went to things I didn't want to go to because I was afraid if I wasn't there, I was missing something. My good was only going to show up there. And if I wasn't there, I was going to miss it. The person I was supposed to meet, the lover I was supposed to have, like it was all preordained. And these things are in my life because I'm supposed to be in those things. And I'm so grateful that I don't live my life that way anymore. And can like really own and claim and express the co-creative power that we have.
Mm. I want to come back to that in a moment, but I also want to remind people that they can get this is my delicious men's tea. Actually, it's our men's blend tea. They can always get any of our Convergence Healing teas at convergencehealingteas.com. We have a women's blend, a men's blend, an anxiety reducer, a sleep better, all those delicious teas that you can find through my brand Convergence Healing and convergencehealingteas.com. I love my tea, which is why I talk about it. But this is delicious, and I wanted to go back to this idea. How did you break through that kind of lack kind of way of thinking of I'm going to miss out? Because I want to know more about that. I've not had that experience in my life, but I run into it a lot with my clients. So I know what I do, but I'm really curious how you personally dealt with that experience. How did you let that go?
Okay, so I haven't let it go. I've just gotten superiority over it. So
Beautiful.
my belief in the Shepherd method, the process that I teach is that we are, what we have become, what we've been conditioned to be in our lives. And so there's no aspect of us that we should be saying, sit down, shut up, go away. We
Mm.
should be, because that's about disenfranchisement and resistance, and whatever we resist persists. So what I
I'm right
do,
there, speaking to the
like,
choir.
love all those aspects. Like there's an aspect of me that gets really scared she's going to be alone forever. And so what would I do with that aspect if it were a little child sitting in front of me? So for me, it's about growing that part of me back up. It's about thanking that aspect of myself um, for the help and guidance it has given me. So it probably protected me in certain situations, and it kept me out of other situations altogether. And that probably worked for a while. Um, so now what I do is I say this a lot when I'm teaching. It's about noticing, like notice what you notice. And I teach self mastery, which is I define as um, mastering yourself in your life so that you can exquisitely manage whatever your life brings your way. And so,
Yes to that.
thank you. So, in this dance of self mastery, the most important thing is to notice, oh, wow, there's that part of me that's afraid of missing out. And so it'll come up. Here's how I notice it: when I don't feel like doing something, but I say yes. So somebody says, would you um, read a few chapters of my book and leave a review on Amazon? And I can feel myself going, that is like 100 times the last thing I want to do. I love you. I don't care about your book. Like I just don't have time right now, and I don't feel like it. But even though I'm feeling that, I hear myself, sure, I'd love to. Send it over and I'll take a look. And when do you need it by? Oh, okay, next week? Really? Like I hear myself saying what is not truth. So when I notice that and I go, oh, what's going on here? When I ask myself, okay, self, what was that all about? That wasn't authentically what you want to do. What are
Mm.
you afraid of? What I'm afraid of is missing out on their approval. What I'm afraid of is missing out on their love. What I'm also afraid of is, well, if I don't do this for them, what if I need something someday? They won't be there for me. And when you think about it, where do we get that? It's conditioned, right? Do unto others as you would have them do unto you, which is like, uh, shouldn't it be do unto others as they would like to be done unto? Like it's
Nice
really,
twist.
it's like it doesn't, like we get all these platitudes, and some of them are biblical, some of them aren't, but we get these kind of platitudes and they get twisted around inside, and we start living on these platitudes instead of on our own truth. And a lot of it is fear-based ideology, or religiosity, as Bill Maher would say, about how we need to be in order to get the thing that we want the most. And the thing that everybody wants most is love, even if they're not even aware that that's what they're trying to get. That's what it is.
I
So
love that you just quoted Phil Moore. Oh my gosh. You just
Bill,
like,
Bill
huh?
Maher,
Bill
Bill
Maher.
Maher,
I thought you were quoting Fillmore. Fillmore is a
yeah, Unity
yeah,
Ministry,
a new thought speaker
Unity,
too.
the
Yeah,
founder of
yeah, yeah,
Unity.
yeah, yeah. Oh my God, I
Yeah,
love it.
I'm a Unity speaker, and I go to a Unity church and have been
Beautiful,
in the
beautiful.
Unity movement since I was 13 years old. But yes, so Bill Maher,
Bill Maher.
did
Okay.
the show, he did the movie, the documentary, Religiosity, I think it was. And he is a devout atheist. And he talks about how much is done in the platitudinal nature of religion that is kind of, bastardized versions of what the real thing that was said was. And now it's just used to control people. I don't believe as far that way as he does, but I am very aware of, like, why am I doing this and where did I get this idea? And so
Mhm.
for me, it's about quieting. Like, how do I tell that part of me, it's okay. I understand you're afraid. And I might even, if I feel safe enough, I might even, in a conversation with you, I'd feel safe enough to even say, you know what, Peter, I just heard myself say yes, and I'm throwing up in my mouth. Like, I don't have time and energy to do this. So I have to take that back. And I have to let you know the reason I said yes when I meant no is because I'm feeling scared that if I don't meet your needs, that you won't be my friend anymore. And that's an old, oh yeah, I can feel some energy coming up around it.
Mm.
That's an old little girl on the playground, didn't have enough friends, um, that kind of thing. And so I'm going to ask you to respect that I just cannot do this right now. So my answer is no.
Uh,
Like, that's what I would do
And you
when
just walked all of our viewers, our listeners through that process. Like, I hope that everybody listening or watching our podcast today can kind of pause that and rewind that and go, wait a minute. She just gave it a very personal example of how to do part of your healing work. And that's just beautiful. I mean, I know, part of my work, we kind of shared a little bit about the processes, and boy, we are like this. We're like intertwined. That's so exciting. Thank you for sharing that. And that's so powerful how you were able to do it, not only as an example, but as a personal experience. That's that, because like you said, you felt something shift even as it was an example of something you were talking about. Thank
yeah,
you for doing that.
you're so welcome. Thank you for asking me. And that to me is, so noticing what you notice
Hmm.
is a foundational piece of kind of the process that I teach. And what's interesting is when people hear that at first, they're like, I notice everything. And I'm like, I'm not talking about out there. Your answers are never going to be out there. And so I was working with a client today, and we were talking about judgment. And I could feel just under a couple of things she was saying, like this heavy, real judgment, and she couldn't feel it. And so we walked through, okay, like, how would you do this when it comes up? And I showed her exactly how. And the noticing is about when you're speaking, and I just call the you an other, when an other is XYZ it doesn't matter because it's really not about them. But when an other is presenting, and you're in time and space with them, and they have something to share, and you feel yourself go, like, guess what? That ain't about the other. It's about you.
Yeah.
So as soon as you hear what you feel, that you should start going, huh,
Mhm.
something the other said or did has triggered something in me. And
Yeah.
I had to teach my students how to realize that what got triggered has nothing to do with the current moment. That's where a lot of people get really mixed up.
Oh my
They
gosh.
think it's, you made me angry. No, they just triggered some other thing that happened to you maybe 40 years ago, and you haven't healed it. And so it's going to keep saying, hello, Valerie, hello, Valerie, hello, until it's a 2x4 on your head. Bonk,
Oh my
right
God.
in the face.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's like still yelling at me to get me to notice that I'm carrying a ton of anger, or that I'm carrying a lot of fear around money, or that I'm carrying not feeling safe being intimate with a man, like whatever those things might be. It's about me. And like that's the biggest thing. I don't know how you feel about this in your work, Peter, but that's one of the biggest places for the clients and students that I work with, is to get them to turn their focus away from everything happening in the world to what's happening in my world. And the center of my world is running right down here from the heavens through my crown chakra, right down my base chakra, and into the Mother Earth. It's me. And the day that I realized, oh, really, I used to say this was a really monumental day for me. Um, I used to say, I have no patience for wounded people. And because I could be really harsh. My staff, I was very successful in corporate America, and my staffs, I would get them promoted and all this stuff, and they'd have great projects, but they would come to me after they were no longer working for me and say things like, I learned more than I ever learned. Um, I got promoted faster, and I sure wish it could have been, either they would say, I wish it could have been a lot more fun, or they would say, I wish it would have felt less harsh.
Mhm.
And so, and the harshness was coming from me, only I didn't think it was. I was like, and if I did accept that I was being harsh or being a battle axe or whatever I was, it was really just my victimhood on display for everyone. But I would be saying I would have a great intellectual alibi, well, it's my military upbringing and I'm like a drill sergeant. I'm trying to prepare you for battle. So you don't, I just had a whole great story around it until I could actually turn it really and start going, yeah, where is this coming from?
Mirror,
Yeah,
mirror.
where is this? Like,
Yeah,
what's going on
yeah,
inside this magnificent instrument that I am?
absolutely.
So I'm such a magnificent instrument. How come the song that I'm playing on my instrument is not really resonating the way I want it to?
Yeah. So Valerie, wow. It is, I just looked at the time and I'm like, holy crap. Holy crap. That was fun. I got so much out of that. And thank you for reflecting the validity of my work because there's times when I go, oh, am I doing the right thing?
Yeah.
I think it's with everybody, and I think it's important, and I think that's good because brings a self-reflection. And you just reflected to me, like that was in a way a mirror, right? But a healthy mirror. Like, oh, I'm doing that too. And I love that. And we share that. And there's some consciousness around that in the world that it's coming more and it's coming through me and it's coming through your work and too. And that's exciting.
Mhm.
That's really exciting. It's kind of like the universe saying, whispering, you're on the right track.
I call those God nods.
God,
Being a
that's
God nod, like,
perfect.
yep, atta girl, keep
Yep,
going,
yep, got
keep
it
going.
going. So we need to wrap up. I'm going to read our closing, and then I would love for you to share your social media, how you want people to reach out and connect. Show us the cover of your book, all that kind of stuff. Okay. All
Okay.
right. So in closing, this again is a reminder that this podcast is a partnership between Earthwalk's Global Wholeness Clock and its daily moments. They offer a variety of opportunities such as global community access to live interviews, health and wellness classes, meditation, live music and art, conscious connection, and relationship building. So if you guys want to find out more about Earthwalk, please go to www.earthwalkunited.org/wholeness clock. Shout out to all those people at Earthwalk. They're doing just beautiful work. Thank you for teaming up with me as a partnership on this. And Valerie, you're awesome. You're amazing. Thank you so much we went over time and it's okay. It just flowed beautifully. Tell people how they can connect with you.
Yes, indeed. Okay, so here's my book, Living Happy to Be Me, Dancing Your Soul Lifestyle. And
Yes.
you can get it on my website at happytobeme.net. Happytobeme.net. It's 25% off of the Amazon price, or you can get it at Amazon.com or Barnes.
We just had a little
It's
glitch.
one, just FYI, it's won 6 awards. Say again?
We just had a little glitch. We just had a little
Oh,
pause for a moment. Just repeat
no.
that last part after it's
I said
25% off.
Yeah, 25% off at my website, or you can get it at Amazon.com or BarnesandNoble.com. And it's won 6 awards, 2 golds, 2 silver, 2 bronze. So you can trust it, even though you may not know me. It's got some independently evaluated spiritual transformation stuff that you might want to take advantage of. And my funnest thing right now is this new Facebook group that I'm wanting to grow. And I'm so grateful to have you, Peter, as a part of it. I commented on your stuff today. We got a little dialogue going, and it's facebook.com/groups with an S /the Bliss Collective, the Bliss Collective. So come in and play with us on Facebook.
Love that. Thank you so much, Valerie. I just appreciate you and enjoy you. And I'm looking forward to getting to know you and your work even more. And for all of our listeners, thank you for tuning in. We actually release a new podcast every Thursday. You can find them primarily on YouTube. If you're watching it now, you know that. Be sure to subscribe and like. Feel free to share all of these videos. And remember, you can connect with me personally on Facebook at Convergence Healing, Instagram, Convergence Healing, Twitter, Peter Bedard. And I love you guys. You're amazing. Create a beautiful day. Namaste, all. Ciao.